The story you are about to hear is one of those rare encounters that leaves people questioning everything they thought they knew about myths, monsters, and the mysteries hidden deep within the wilderness. It begins in the far northern mountains, in a remote region where winter storms can arrive without warning and where silence sits heavy on the snow-covered forests. It is a place where people still whisper about strange footprints, eerie calls at night, and shadows that move in ways that defy explanation. Most dismiss these tales as campfire imagination. But for one woman, a single night in a deadly blizzard changed her understanding of what might actually live out there. Her name is Rachel, an experienced hiker who grew up exploring mountains with her father. She knew how to read weather patterns, how to pack for emergencies, and how to stay calm when conditions became dangerous. But even experts make mistakes, and on that particular winter afternoon, Rachel underestimated the severity of a storm that rolled in faster than expected. What began as a peaceful solo hike became a fight against nature itself as biting winds pushed down from the peaks and thick curtains of snow swallowed the trail. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. Her tracks disappeared behind her with each step. Within an hour, she realized she was lost. The cold sank into her bones quicker than she could have imagined. Her hands stiffened inside her gloves, her lips went numb, and every breath felt like she was inhaling knives. She tried to retrace her path, but the landscape had transformed into a white maze. Trees she recognized earlier now looked identical, coated in ice and snow. Her phone had no signal. The temperature began to fall sharply with the coming night, and Rachel knew that if she didn't find shelter soon, the cold would slowly, silently claim her. As daylight faded, panic tried to claw its way into her chest. She forced herself to keep moving, to keep searching for anything, a cave, a fallen tree, even a depression in the snow, anything that could give her a chance to survive the night. Her legs grew heavy. Her breathing became shallow. She stumbled several times, each fall sapping more strength. The wind screamed between the trees, carrying with it a faint, distant sound she couldn't identify. At first, she thought it was just the storm, until the sound came again, louder this time. It wasn't the howl of the wind. It wasn't an animal cry she recognized. It was deeper, more resonant, something almost human but not quite. She froze. Fear and curiosity battled inside her. Every instinct told her to stay still and silent. Yet a strange new instinct, one she could not explain, told her she wasn't alone out there, that something was watching her in the blinding snow. She turned slowly, trying to spot the source of the sound. That was when she saw it. Through the swirling white haze, a massive shape emerged between the trees. At first, her mind tried to rationalize it, a bear, a large man in heavy winter gear, maybe even a moose. But as the figure approached, its height, its silhouette, and its slow, deliberate movements shattered every logical explanation. Towering nearly 8 feet tall, covered in long, dark hair that whipped in the storm winds, stood a creature Rachel had only heard described in legends, a Bigfoot. Her heart pounded. This was the moment most people imagine with terror, a face-to-face encounter with a mythical beast. But the creature's posture was not aggressive. It didn't charge. It didn't roar. It simply watched her with dark, intelligent eyes that reflected something unexpected, concern. Rachel was too exhausted to run even if she wanted to. Her body was shutting down, her vision narrowing at the edges. She swayed on her feet, ready to collapse. That was when the creature moved toward her, not with the speed of a predator, but with the cautious approach of something gauging whether she was a threat or in need of help. When she finally lost her balance and fell into the snow, the creature reached her in a few powerful strides. She expected pain. She expected the worst. Instead, she felt warmth. The Bigfoot knelt beside her, its enormous arms shielding her from the biting wind. Its body radiated heat like an enormous furnace, and when it gently lifted her off the ground, she felt the strange sensation of security rather than fear. Rachel later said that in those moments, she sensed an emotional presence, not of a monster, but of a caretaker. The creature carried her through the storm as if her weight meant nothing. She could barely keep her eyes open, drifting in and out of consciousness. Each time she awoke, all she could see was a wide, muscular back covered in thick fur and a massive hand gripping her gently but firmly, making sure she didn't fall. It walked with purpose, as though it knew exactly where to bring her. After what felt like hours, the Bigfoot ducked under a natural rock overhang at the base of a slope where the wind couldn't reach. Snow had formed a thick barrier around the entrance, turning the space into a small, insulated shelter. The creature set Rachel down carefully on a bed of dry pine branches. Then it positioned itself beside her, curling its body around her to share heat, guarding her from the elements like a protective wall. Rachel could hear its slow, steady breathing. She felt its warmth envelop her. The creature occasionally made low, soft sounds, almost like humming. Whether it was communicating, comforting her, or simply trying to stay calm, she couldn't be sure. But she remembers this clearly. She didn't feel like she was with a beast. She felt like she was with something gentle, something aware of her suffering, something determined to keep her alive. Throughout the night, the storm raged outside. Snow pounded the landscape, trees bent and cracked under the weight of ice. But inside that natural shelter, Rachel stayed warm enough to survive. She drifted into deep, exhausted sleep, waking only when she felt the creature stand up at dawn. The storm had passed. Weak morning light filtered through the entrance. When she opened her eyes fully, the creature was standing at the edge of the shelter, looking out across the frozen forest. It turned back toward her one last time. There was something unmistakably emotional in its gaze, a mix of curiosity, relief, and perhaps even sadness. And then, without a sound, it stepped into the snow and disappeared among the trees. Rachel was found hours later by a search and rescue team. They traced her location after spotting disturbances in the snow from a helicopter. When they reached her, she was weak but alive. Medics agreed that given the temperature and the length of time she'd been missing, she should not have survived. Her clothes showed signs of being carried. The pine branch bedding still held traces of large prints. Investigators dismissed her story as hallucinations caused by hypothermia. But Rachel never wavered in her account. Friends and family who knew her described her as rational, responsible, and grounded, someone who would never invent such a tale. Even years later, her story never changed. A massive, unknown creature saved her life with tenderness and intelligence unlike anything she expected. Her experience sparks an important question: are the creatures we fear truly monsters, or are they simply misunderstood beings avoiding human contact? If something as mysterious as Bigfoot exists, is it automatically dangerous, or could it possess a sense of empathy beyond what we give it credit for? Rachel's encounter suggests that whatever this creature was, it chose compassion over hostility. It recognized her vulnerability, it acted with care, and it vanished before anyone else could see, as though it knew its presence would only bring fear from others. Some believe her story is proof that Bigfoot is not a mindless beast but a sentient, perhaps even emotionally complex creature. Others think she encountered a rare, gentle individual among a species we know nothing about. And some argue that her survival itself is evidence strong enough to take her account seriously. What is undeniable is that Rachel walked away from that mountain with a profound sense of gratitude and a changed perspective. She no longer sees the wilderness as empty or silent. She believes there are beings out there, beings we don't understand, who watch humans more closely than we realize. And sometimes, when the thin line between life and death is crossed, they intervene. Her story remains one of the most compelling and emotionally charged encounters ever reported. It pushes us to reconsider our assumptions about the unknown. Because maybe, just maybe, the creature we call Bigfoot isn't the monster of our nightmares, but a guardian lurking in the shadows, stepping forward only when a life hangs in the balance. And so we end with the question that still lingers. In a world filled with mysteries we've yet to solve, is it possible that humanity exists in forms we never expected? Perhaps the real story of Bigfoot has only just begun.